We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
What is up, Cal fans? That is right. We are back. Wait a second. What in the world? Oh, damn. We're back. The conference is dead, Rob. The conference is dead.
The funniest part about that scene from that movie, though, is that banging that you hear is like a corpse, like, getting up because he's, like, trying to say he's okay, and he smacks him on the head to, like, kill him again.
That's the Pac-12.
That's the Pac-12. We get little morsels of, like, is it possible? And then the Big 10 or Big 12 comes and just puts us back down.
Yeah, it's George. Just die already.
Oh, but yes, we're back. We're the California Golden Bear cast of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. That was Andy. I'm Rob. We got a lot to talk about, so no festivities, no talking about nieces, no talking about cute babies. We're just gonna talk about this disaster that is unfolding in front of us.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? All right. So what are we going to talk about first, Andy? We got to talk about are we talking about the timeline? Are we talking about just what's happening right as of, like, it's 9:07 p.m. as we're recording this on Thursday night, and I believe UW's Board of Regents are meeting currently right now. That's what was reported. Arizona just had their meeting. Arizona's Board of Regents just had their meeting a couple hours ago. And apparently the Pac-12 is meeting again tomorrow. So that's where we're at. But I don't know what you wanted to talk about first. Do we start with Colorado? Do we go back further? Like, where do you want to go?
I think let's live here and now. We can always revisit either later in this podcast or do another one with the full timeline of events.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think I want to, like, start taking people through sort of, let's just, like, acknowledge the high level, if that.
Sure.
And so where I would like to start this is that we are seeing and witnessing the end of college football, college basketball, as we know it. And it's not necessarily over, but it's definitely, like, USC and UCLA leaving was like, wow, we're not going to play or, like, have the UCLA game every year. We're not going to have USC. But now you're talking about, like, Oregon, UW, Arizona State. We'll not talk about Colorado. Can't believe we lost that team. And so I think as you talk about this, I've seen a lot out there that is the usual, I was going to say a word I don't know how to pronounce, Schadenfreude or something.
Yeah, yep.
people are very quick to want to pronounce something dead. People are very quick to point fingers and blame around why such a thing has happened and want to get that answer very quickly. And I think it misses a key point here, which is truly just the disappearance of what I think made college football great, which was the rivalries, which is the road trips. And, I was texting with a buddy of mine who freshman year and I think it was senior year, we drove up twice to Oregon, and both of those trips were, especially freshman year, you're a freshman, kind of eyes wide open, and we go and it's game day and we win on the Marcus Esef, and
Yep.
I mean, that experience was so special, and the thought that that's going away for generations of fans is ultimately a net negative for college football. And so I just want to take a minute to appreciate what we've had, because in all likelihood, it won't go back to that. With some off chance of, like, there's a couple of scenarios where it plays out where you're like, okay, maybe we keep UW, Oregon, Stanford, and get USC, UCLA back.
Down the road.
Right? Down the road. But there's a very good chance that doesn't happen. And it just sucks. It just, I hate it. It's a part of a bigger theme with sports right now. You look at the A's, it's the same thing. It's just a money grab. Everyone's just chasing money. And it's like the love of what made college athletics so special, where the uniqueness of the traditions of college football was something that I think 5 years ago, I never in my life, Rob, would have thought that you and I our podcast that I was lucky enough to join, I didn't even found it, but the podcast that we have would outlive the Pac-12. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would not have taken a money bet on that. Absolutely
No
not.
way. You'd
No
been
way.
like, damn, that's some really good weed that Andy's got today. There's no chance.
No chance.
I mean, it's also one of those things that it's been around since 1915.
Yep.
100-year business. I always talk about 100-year businesses, because what do you have to do to stay around for 100 years? I think it's fascinating to think, like, all of the ups and downs. Dude, the Pac-12 made it through the Great Depression. Not a fake recession, the literal Great Depression. They made it through that. And here we are in 2023, and the Pac-12 has been unable, if not unwilling, to navigate around these hurdles. So I think it's also particularly fascinating when you think about the context of a 100+ year, multi-billion-dollar company, I believe, essentially folding in about a year.
Yep.
In about a year. I mean, for goodness sake, like, I was about to call out one of my former companies. I won't do that. But, like, there's some companies that have been around that you're like, that shit should be dead by now. And you're like, nope, it's still kicking. So that's where I'm at. Like, let's take a second here to like kind of just remember what was, and if this is it. And I mean, you look at the ACC and what's going on there. I mean, it's hard to not look at the ACC and say, yep, all right, where are we going? It's very clear to me where we're going. We're going to two conferences.
Yep. AFC, NFC.
And yeah, and it's garbage. If you compare it to college basketball, like to the tournament, and the fact that the tournament gets 300 teams, like there's 300 teams that are in plus
Division
that are in
one.
college basketball, and then the tournament is going to get, a large percentage, maybe a third, a little bit less than a third of those teams to participate. It's a very inclusive activity.
Yep.
And then college football is going the opposite direction, where it's exclusive. It's, and then you look at it too, and they're like, oh, no, like we have our money over here, so we're good.
Yep.
That was the craziest, out of all the crazy shit that's happened today, the craziest thing to me is that I would be getting a text from an Oregon fan who would be spitting on Cal's grave. Like, why? Is it just Darwinism? Are we in the survival of the fittest now? Is it, I got money, you don't, ha?
Yep.
Like, and then you look at the other schools that are in the Big Ten, they're the haves, and they look at the have-nots, and they're like, oh no, we don't want Oregon. We don't want Washington. We don't want Cal or Stanford. They'll diminish the brand. Bro, like you guys play Rutgers every year. Are you kidding me? Like, come on now. The brand? You're ridiculous. Like both of your. So we just live in this culture. I hate to I am going to go there, but it's like, why must we all just get the one up and then point back and laugh instead of saying, what happened to the collective? And I think the collective was the NCAA, and we've talked about this.
We have.
And the NCAA is a shit organization. And they have terrible leadership. And what they've done is we talked about this before, they've absolved themselves of any responsibility, but pretend that they have authority.
Yep.
They are literally like the South Park episode where they're like, you can have your cake and you can eat it too. You can protest a war and be for supporting your troops at the same time. Because it's hypocrisy. Like, that's literally the takeaway from that episode. So if anybody watches South Park, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's like, that's the NCAA. They're like, oh, Cal and Stanford might not have a conference. Let me just grab my piece of cake over here and enjoy this show. The Big Ten might become the Big 18. Delicious. And then, yeah, sorry, Harbaugh, but you lied to us, so you're suspended 4 games. You kidding me? Get the hell out of here. All right, I'm done. That's the rant. Over to you.
I had the same thought as you did, and it's funny how we're like on the same wavelength about what you were talking about earlier, and just we're losing a lot of the ethos of what makes college football so great, and we shouldn't be pointing at any team. Like one of the thoughts that some of the writers and when I talk to Avi and stuff, it's like I'm a little bit guilty of that too. When the news came out, like, that we might survive and Washington State and Oregon State might go down, it's like there was a little bit of, it felt like survivor's remorse of like, man, I know what it's like to be a college football fan or college athletics fan, and it's going to suck if you're in that fan base and you're left behind. Right. And so let me read you this. All right. This was from College Football Reddit. This is a Washington State fan who wrote this, and I think it's so poignant. It's so good. All right, it's gonna take a little bit, but I'm gonna read it for you, Andy, just because I know you haven't read it. So
Love it.
it says, all right, I love college football. Ever since I was a kid, college football Saturday was my favorite day, and it all centered around Washington State. Growing up, I remember watching every game with my dad, and when the games weren't on TV, going for a drive just to listen to Bob Robertson call the game on the radio. Even when I went to school, I had to suffer through the Paul Wolf teams that were among the worst in the country. I still found a way to enjoy the game, parentheses, sometimes. Why? Because there was always hope that things would turn around. But now, here we are. Money and the whims of ESPN and Fox are going to destroy my team and athletic department. Washington State, a team in a tiny remote city with so much tradition, is going to be left out. We have some of the best TV ratings in the Pac-12, and we're famous for our passionate fan base, no matter how bad the team is. See above, Paul Wolf era. But none of that matters because we're in the middle of nowhere, and some small group of executives in some boardroom somewhere doesn't think we're a big enough name. Yeah, I know the team will still be around. The Mountain West will welcome us with open arms, and there will still be football in Martin Stadium in 2024. On paper, Washington State and Mountain West seem like a pretty good fit, but make no mistake, this move will cripple Washington State athletics as we know it. Washington State, under the visionary leadership of Bill Moose, bet big on big money Pac-12 TV contracts a little over a decade ago. They basically took out loans to build an expensive U State football complex and other buildings. They bet big on expensive big-name coaches like Mike Leach and Shiver Ernie Kent. They spent money like it was going to go out of style because Larry Scott told them it would be there. And we all know how that turned out. Now, despite major cost-cutting measures over the past few years, Washington State is still in a pretty major debt and staring down the idea of going from making $35 million in TV money to as little as $4 million practically overnight. The consequences are going to be devastating. We don't know what they're going to have to do, but it's going to be ugly for a very long time. On top of that, I'm depressed for the sport as a whole. It's not just Washington State fans that will be going through this. Our Beaver friends are likely to be right there with us, and plenty more around the corner as the big money schools will continue to consolidate. Little by little, the passion and tradition that makes college football so special will be whittled away until we're left with a cheaper, younger, worse version of the NFL. Now we're a month away from kickoff, and my enthusiasm is at an all-time low. Why should I care about a sport that obviously doesn't care about me and my school? We could have a miracle year and win a national championship, but none of that would matter. Our fate for 2024 and beyond was sealed years ago, and there was nothing you could do about it. That sucks. Sorry for rambling. I just wanted to voice what I was feeling to people that might sympathize on some level. Thanks for reading.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
I get goosebumps reading that.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah, that could be us.
Yeah.
I mean,
as of
oddly
right now, it is
enough,
us.
It is us. Crazy it is to say it. Stanford's in a similar spot.
Yep.
But that's it. Is if you think about college in general and where schools are located, and the Pullman example is a good one. So when it comes to those particular institutions, how does it work when it comes to finding your next job? Who goes to a career fair in Pullman from a company perspective that also goes to, let's say, Seattle? Or better put, how many companies are willing to go to hire at a Seattle campus, aka UW, versus pay additionally to get somebody out to Pullman? And so what you had is inequity based on geography that had sort of plagued the college university system, in that I was disadvantaged even if I went to a very good school that was further away, if it didn't have the reputation for being elite, or I mean, if it didn't have the reputation, and then also I think the geographical, it's a little bit out of the way, right? And so what happened is you had a lot of really good talent that was looked over constantly and not given the same opportunity. And so you had people that were underemployed, that were graduating from those institutions and from those colleges, that were taking jobs that they were overqualified for, that had absorbed personal debt to get a 4-year degree, and then had to take a longer period of time to pay it off. It's very shocking to me to see, like, as the universities themselves and career services themselves have moved away from that and into a world where access to opportunity is more available through things like the internet. We are going the opposite direction in college football and essentially recreating that exact thing. And what's more fascinating about this, Rob, is I think Apple TV Plus, while for all of the fear that is behind it, it also is an equalizer in the sense that I don't have to pay, like, I can get Apple TV Plus as long as I have a freaking Chromecast or something. I don't know if the Chromecast says Apple TV Plus, but like, right? You know what I mean? Like, the barrier to entry for me to get Apple TV Plus is significantly lower than for me to get cable.
Yeah, I mean, how many people in the U.S. have an iPhone?
Yes.
That immediately.
And so you sort of have this. I just think it's fascinating because you have this option that I've thought a lot about the proposal. I'm like, why was the Pac-12 so insistent on this subscription-based model, right? Why were they so insistent on the process of media rights deal, then expansion, and not the other way around? It was something I was just thinking about. And what I think is particularly interesting about it is that I think it's one of those things that it's the only option. You know how, like, was George from a casino, right?
He's from MGM.
I look at the Apple TV Plus offer that the Pac-12 got as a gamble. And what you say is, because we're never going to get 50 million, right? So if you look at the 50, you're like, all right, we lost USC, we lost UCLA. We're not going to get the 50 million. But what could you do with a streaming deal that you couldn't necessarily do with maybe a more traditional package? And I'm like, well, you don't really have the same constraints around programming and scheduling, right? So you could actually do what they're trying to do, which is get a core group to buy into this idea where I'm like, Rob, I will give you a base 20. And then everyone hears base 20 is like, holy shit, like, give me the fuck out of here. And that's why we're here, right? But I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, so it's base 20, but it's a subscriber. It's built on subscribers. So it's the bet. You're betting that you go in at 9 and then you build that out to 16 or you build that out to 20 and you're saying, okay, I'm going to take this collective audience. I'm taking this collective audience. I'm taking this collective audience. And now I'm adding subscribers. I'm adding subscribers. I'm adding subscribers. I'm adding subscribers. Apple's saying, fine, you're delivering me subscribers. That is important to my $1 trillion business. And now I can cross-sell them and all these different things. That's great. That's user acquisition for us. We're going to pay you out multiples on that. And to me, it's just one of those, I don't know if it was going to work that way. It's just sort of a thought I've had where I was like, it's fascinating to think that that was the offer that was put in front of me. I can see why Cal would be more open to that because we had the $10 million from UCLA. you're like, all right, not a bad deal. But I think all this to say, there was an opportunity here to be inclusive. And we keep coming back to that. There's an opportunity here to say, hey, Washington State, you are very far away from a major metro area. But to the writer's point, you do have a very loyal following that'd be willing to pay some incremental price in order to be able to watch their games. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, you matter. You matter. Your viewership matters. Your fan base matters. Your athletics matter. You matter. And then SMU, you're in Dallas. You've been overlooked for a long time in comparison to the other Texas schools. You matter too. So you come in. San Diego State, you come in. And now we have a collective that is much more, potentially more valuable than what a 10-team conference would look like. And so so anyways, it was a long point, but it's very fascinating because you look at the trends from where the true essence of what college is all about at the end of the day, like getting your education, getting a degree, getting a job, and sort of going on that path. And it's very much built on this idea of the collective winning, the collective opportunity. Mm-hmm. And then you look at collegiate sports on the revenue side of things, and it's the exact opposite. And that doesn't make any damn sense to me. Why, other than Fox is happy, ESPN is happy, CBS seems to be happy, and that's about it. And the collective suffers. We get a worse product with worse traditions, with, at the end of the day, less viewership, right? And if you lose a fan like that, and you lose some of the diehards, then, it's NFL light. And that just sucks because NFL light, dude, like NFL is just like watching dude kill each other. I mean, I love the Niners, but like, don't get me wrong. Every time I watch that sport, I'm like, dude, why do I do this? This is terrible. Like, literally watching people like give up their lives.
I mean, you could argue college football is the same to a certain degree too.
Yes, not as violent. I don't know. Did you follow me on that one, or was it too existential there?
No, I think I agreed. Inclusivity is like the key term for this podcast. I genuinely hope, I think you and I, alongside, for me, like a bunch of the writers, and I've gotten to know so many fans, bloggers, writers, podcasters of all these other Pac-12 teams, right? And I hope they feel for the rest of us just as much as we feel for them, right? I hope that, I hope we don't have, like, Arizona writers being like, haha, F you guys, we secured $35 million, we're out. Like, I hope they understand, like, you guys were just as much in a dire situation like we were, and afraid of being left behind, which is why you guys took that deal. The least you could lament is like the loss of all the joking, the memes, the history, and all of that, for the sake of securing a payday at this point. So finances do dictate a lot of this, but as that CFB Reddit post read, like, there doesn't seem to be anyone in that one boardroom in the middle of nowhere talking about, are we the baddies? Like, we're supposed to be the caretakers of this sport and this, like, in the fandom, but like we're tearing it to shreds. And we're just gonna leave it to the wayside. Like, the Apple TV deal, it's like, everyone's talking about, oh, it's just a base $20 million. And I'm not going to take an optimistic approach on that or a negative approach on that. But the number I do want to see regarding that is how many Pac-12, like, what's the projection on Pac-12 fans that weren't able to watch their team play because of the restrictions behind where you can get the Pac-12 network. What's that gap number? Because you're expecting that gap number to be filled up when you move to a subscription-based model like this, right? You're expecting all of those people to subscribe along with the foundational people that already had Pac-12 network who will of course subscribe because they want to watch the Pac-12. Now, I would love to know what that projected number is, because I think that's a pretty big tell of what number you think you could reach in terms of the deals or the benchmark bonuses that Apple TV were going to hand out.
Yeah. I think that the other thing too with that the whole thing is really sad in another way, in the sense that, like, I don't think George was wrong when he said that, when, you know, he got a lot of heat for the quote that was, the longer we wait, the better the deals get. And some people have pointed to him misjudging the market, and they're not wrong. Like, the market got really weird at probably the worst possible time. Money, Disney's struggling. There's a lot of things that are happening. Is it a recession? Is it not a recession? So yeah, the market got weird, but that wasn't wrong. If you look at the war across Disney Plus, across Apple TV Plus, across any of the subscription services, ESPN, what is it all about these days? It's all about content. Mm-hmm. And what did they provide? Content. The longer you wait, the better deal you're going to get. Fully stand behind that. Now, did he misjudge the insecurity that potentially brought? 1,000% yes.
Yep.
1,000%. But I still think he is right. I mean, Netflix, like all the trends, Netflix, like any of these businesses, Netflix has rebounded. Why? Because they have really good content.
Yep.
And why has Disney Plus struggled? Because their content's kind of whack. Like, they kind of ran out of good shows. All of a sudden it was like, all right, we're bleeding subscribers left and right. Why is Threads not popping off? Because it doesn't have good content. It has a ton of users, but if nobody's there to report the fucking news or all the things that happen on Twitter that people care about, then I hate to say it, because I don't believe in Elon or X or any of the bullshit that's happening in that company, but where are you going to go? Are you going to go to Threads if the content isn't there? No, of course not. You go where the content is. So they had a leveraged position if every single institution was willing to play that game. And they weren't. And he probably should have known that. And he might have known that. Honestly, I don't think they were sweating losing Colorado. I truly think when he said, yeah, we can level it up, Rob, like, maybe he was like, great, we're going to lock in this thing with Apple. And we're going to add 4. We're going to add SMU. We're going to add San Diego State. And we'll poach 2 other ones. Throw in whoever it might be. And he's like, we'll get 4 schools for the same price as 1. We'll increase the value of the overall partnership. And then it'll add a multiple onto the partnership, because we're in the future of how content is being consumed, because it sure as hell isn't based on cable contracts. But it's a hard game to play when the other position you put everybody else in it's very, like, to me, it's a belief-based system. It's kind of like Silicon Valley Bank or First Republic Bank, right? As soon as the trust is gone, as soon as, like, if Rob, you're like, I'm at First Republic, I'm at First Republic too, and then you're like, yeah, I just pull all my money out. And you're like, I'm going to Chase. All right. Oh shit. Like, should I do the same? Right? That's the first question that I have.
Yep.
So if you're Colorado and I'm Arizona, and you just went to Chase Bank, now I'm like, well, I don't want to be left with $15 million less. Mm-hmm. So should I just go to Chase and make sure that I don't lose 15 million? And that question is a lot different than we're a collective, we're in this together, the longer we wait, the better it gets, because there's a real loss, and now all of my donors are hitting me up, being like, you're the president of this damn university. You're going to cost us our entire collegiate, athletic future by making the wrong decision here. And now I have guns pointed at me that are saying, put your money in Chase Bank. And I'm like, all right.
Easy call. Yeah, it's honestly, like, looking at this, I think the only way you salvage this, like the current Pac-12 status, right, is if Apple really wants college football content, right, which it seems like they do, and they don't want mid-tier, right? They want somewhat like Power 5. With the current Pac-12 teams that are left, you could argue, like, if Arizona doesn't leave, right? Let's just say for the sake of the argument they don't leave. For this, all of those teams combined, you have pretty elite basketball with pretty elite football. And if Apple really wants that to jumpstart their thing into, hey, look at what we're doing with them, and trying to pull in some more conferences later down the road, they're gonna have to make an investment at some point. And I think if I was George K, and I am not saying I'm good at negotiations whatsoever, right? I go to them right now and go, look, you offered me 20 million as a base. Teams are jumping because they're getting 35. Get me to 30 million as a base, and this conference stays together, and we all go to you. Otherwise, you get no content, and we lose a conference. Like that's basically what you're gonna have to tell them, right? And so, I don't think that's how that conversation went, or is going, or will go. But
I don't think
clearly
so.
They're having a meeting tomorrow, right? And who knows? Maybe Apple did up their offer because they realized, okay, this might be our one shot to actually try and get collegiate content on our streaming platform, and we're gonna have to invest a little bit into it. Plus, it's like a 3-year deal anyway, so it's not like you're locking in 30 million, per year over 10 years, like per school. It's not a long-term deal anyway. So if it doesn't work out, you cut it, and you're still making back a significant amount with the investment that you make. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, and it sucks. And we're doing this all on Thursday, and we're gonna wake up tomorrow morning, and we're not gonna have a single clue of what it's gonna be like by the end of tomorrow. Pac-12 could be dead by 24 hours from now. Pac-12 could be alive and kicking 24 hours from now. Like, we just don't know.
I think we should publish this podcast soon.
Well, I'm gonna try and get this out on Friday morning. Yeah, I'm gonna work on
by
editing
3
it tonight.
a.m.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are gonna be like, "Oh, none of this stuff matters." I think that okay. So let's go back a little bit. So, like, where did this go wrong? Everyone blames Larry Scott. The decision to not, or the president's decision to not allow Texas and Oklahoma to join the Pac-12 way back when. Then the failed venture of the Pac-12 network and what that was to, it was just a overall decline in sort of competitiveness in the last few years from the conference perspective. And then the beginning of the death knell with USC and UCLA leaving. And then there's some others that are blaming George K for him. And I'm like, okay, so do I want to feed any of like the hysteria of like who should you be angry at?
It's a little bit of everybody, at the very least.
Exactly.
At the very least.
So, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I mean, you have a leader that was over their head very much with our guy Larry.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, go ahead.
But I think the real linchpin in this whole thing, and I hate to say it for our poor guys on the RIP Conquest Chronicles Traveler Hates Thursday podcast. But it really was USC that really just messed this whole fucking thing up. It's so funny because like every article I read, there's like, oh yeah, they should have catered more to what USC wanted. They did. That's the sad thing. They did. And I don't. The sad reality of it is like one of the big reasons that SC pointed to wanting to go to the Big Ten was because George voted no on the expansion of the playoff. And how long did it take to get there? 10 months? And we got it. And that was, what's her name? Carol Folt?
Yeah.
That was the excuse that they used to leave the conference.
Well, it's Folt and Mike Bond, who is no longer the athletic director at SC.
Yes, because he's so good at building world-class shit cultures. But like, and that it really was like, to your point, it kind of just goes back to being a little bit of the fault of everyone, but it goes down to just people being ultimately selfish. They're putting their own interests above the collective, and you can sell that to a USC base. I know there's lovely USC people out there. I work with a few of them, so hopefully they don't listen to this podcast.
Saman's great too. Saman's great too.
It's fantastic, right? But at the same time, I can sell this story to USC. If I am the president of USC, hey, we're going to F over a few people. And by the way, like, you know, goodbye to like a lot of the Pac-12 as we know it. But we'll be fine. We'll be making $50 million a year. And we'll probably end up with a good chance to go into the college football playoff. And you got to imagine that's probably pretty well received as a message, right?
Sure.
And I'm not saying, like, you could say that same message at Cal and there'd probably be thousands of people that'd be like, hell yeah, do that.
Yep.
But I think there would be a greater percentage of people that would say, no, we're about this for the people. We're about this for the collective. What about UCLA in that scenario? What about Stanford? As much as we like to, they are our ultimate rival. We're sort of brother in arms right now. This is a weird feeling. I'm like, dude, like, I look at SC and I'm like, dude, like, y'all might be my number one on the hit list now. But I think that's the problem, is that people think that the solution is as simple as one little thing, like moving the headquarters of the Pac-12 to LA and cozying up to USC, as if that would have done anything. If you get in bed with the devil, you're going to get burned. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it would have prevented it from happening. I guarantee you they would have done something else that would have screwed over the conference anyways. They didn't care. Carol Folt did not care. She just cared about one thing. Money, right? One thing. They're like, all right, cool. On to the next. Burn it all up. And I just think, but you have that happening. And so that's to your point. You could take that same mentality and say the presidents that turned down Oklahoma and Texas, they made a selfish decision too. Right? They were like, we're good. We don't need y'all. And then when the Big 12 was struggling because they were losing people to SEC, what did George do? George was like, nah, we're good. Y'all are fine. We're not going to help you out. Dude, no one is helping anyone. It is literally awful. And now, like, the ACC, same thing. And the Pac-12, like, the best possible outcome of all this, Rob, I tell you, the missed outcome I think about a lot was ACC Pac-12 joining up. The Coastal Conference. You call it literally the Coastal Conference. You have a West. You have the East. You don't have to worry about cross-country flights except for out, like, once a year. And then you have a championship game between the two. That was the win. It was there. I don't know about the litigation that you could have possibly done on whatever grant of rights deal and all that stuff, but like to me, that was the one. Like
The super
that
PAC.
was the super PAC, the super PAC of all super PACs. But it just doesn't seem like the collective mindset really exists anymore.
Nope.
It's not there.
Nope.
People don't want it.
Nope.
Florida State's like, F y'all. Screw you, UNC. I'm going to go join the SEC, and we're going to sue the grant of rights deal that we signed with you because we're underpaid, despite the fact that we haven't fielded a competitive team in like 5 years. Because we have the brand of Florida State. What is Florida State doing? Florida State's doing exactly what USC is doing. Selfish people.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at, right? That's it. I mean, we've been talking about this for about 45 minutes, Andy. How about we go into questions and takes of our listeners?
Yeah, I'm in.
We got all sorts of questions and comments because we haven't recorded in some time, so people are just like unloading. So let's run through this. All right. First one from Hood Bear on Twitter. Your take on where Cal ends up in the conference transfer portal?
You go.
Where Cal ends up? I still think we end up in the Big Ten at some point. I don't know when that'll be. But I think ultimately at the end, that's what happens. In terms of like what happens right now, like leading into next season, I honestly cannot tell you because everything changes by the hour apparently. But ultimately, I think we end up in the Big Ten. I think as much as people love to hate on us, I think our brand and like our name as a university and as a program is too significant to leave behind, and someone's gonna pick us up, and I think that happens to be the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people that are talking about FCS, I think they're out of their damn mind.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think a lot of people forget and like to just, oh, it's Cal, and, oh, yeah, we're super liberal, blah, 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 and we don't even like football. And, like, I don't know, dude. These tropes are just so stupid. But I think that at the end of the day, like, whether the Mountain West would jump at a team like Cal, and for good reason. You know, and if that's where Oregon State, Washington State, I doubt Stanford would go there. But, you know, I could see that. I could see Big Ten doing the Big Ten West and making and then solving all of the logistics around the travel, which is going to be a huge pain for non-revenue sports to have to cross country to go play Rutgers and all of that. So Big Ten West, you open that up, you get the state of California. And at the end of the day, the sad reality is like, let's go to where everybody else is talking about anyways, is the money. And let's look at the A's. What is the biggest argument for the A's staying in Oakland? Because Vegas is the 40th biggest television market, and Oakland in the Bay Area is the 10th. Right? Money talks, addressable market matters. And a lot of people are talking about like the prestigious companies that are in the Bay that help, and then the admissions that go along with it, and that's what makes Stanford and Cal so attractive. But like honestly, dude, like right now, I think like my whole mentality on Stanford is far more different than it's ever been in my entire life. Right? Because it's like my whole life, I grew up riding the bus, 51, going to games, hearing Stanford fans bragging about winning the game, and turning to my dad and being like, why do we never win? And I grew up, was like, don't like Stanford, I'll never go there. You know, that's how I grew up that way. But now I'm like, dude, we're in this together. Like, we can't look at this and say, oh no, like it's, dude, we're brothers now. Like, for better or for worse. Like, I'm not looking at y'all and saying anything else other than, hey, I hope you guys landed in a good spot. I hope we land in a good spot. Said the same thing about Oregon. I'm like, glad y'all are getting taken care of. I hope people are looking back at us and saying the same thing. I don't think they are, because I think it's literally all out, like blood. Just get what you can get.
Dog
but
eat dog.
I think that you're right. I mean, that's the best possible outcome. Even if we got in at $20 million a year into the Big Ten, if you had the security with it, I would take that any day. Yeah. But to the same point, like, you're leaving somebody behind. Someone's going to get left holding the bag. Who's the person that gets left with the GameStop stock? It's not always going to be at 300.
Nope.
It's going to come back down.
Yep.
It's going to be some retail investor that walks away being like, damn, I lost my entire life savings. No one's going to give a shit about it because 100 people made millions of dollars. Dude, why are there so many examples of this, Rob? It's driving me crazy.
It's the world. It's capitalist society that we live in.
Is it capitalism?
It is.
Man.
It is capitalism.
I'm a product of capitalism.
We are a product of capitalism. All right, part 2 of Hood Bear's questions is, how will you celebrate Cal's 9+ winning season? I was actually talking to someone about this, and I was like, you know what would be poetic is if like a team like us or like a team like Oregon State, some team that everyone shits on every single year in and year out wins the conference this year.
Yeah.
It's so poetic. I would love to see it.
Me too. Fully. Yep. Oregon State. Yeah. I don't think my attitude changes that much with Oregon or Washington, Arizona, Colorado. I mean, I just think, like, can we take a second to talk about Colorado?
Sure.
What are they just like? They are just like cashing out.
Yep.
They're up at the table. They're on a good roll. They're like, we're out. We're cashing out. Yep. They are cashing out. And guess what? Dion is out of there in 2 years or less. Hold me to it. If this podcast is still going on, hold me to it. 2 years or less. Dion's not going to be there. Maybe they have the money to continue to get really good coaches. Maybe. They would hope. But boy, they better be right.
Look.
Because if they go back to the basement.
Look, they went from Mel Tucker to Carl Durrell. What confidence does that give you that they'll make the right hire after Dion? What confidence does that give you? And you're also assuming that Dion leaves Colorado in a better place than when he got there.
Right.
There's a chance that it maintains because it was bad under Carl Durrell, right? And it could be sustained, not improved.
You better hope. Better hope he doesn't lead the NCAA astray and get a 4-game suspension for lying.
You know what it is? You know what it is, Andy? To go off your metaphor of like cashing out at the table. They're cashing out, and if Dion doesn't provide for you and improve your team, then it's as you're walking to the exchange with all of your chips, you fall and trip, and you lose all of those chips, and everyone just comes and just takes a couple chips off the floor, and you're scrambling and you're grasping, and all you end up is just with the chips that you can grab in your 2 hands. Everyone else is gone. Every other chip is gone. That's basically what you're going to end up with if Dion doesn't get you out of that situation. It's unfortunate. All right, let's move on. We got a lot. We got to finish these. All right. Paul Jones sends another tweet. First game of the year is pivotal to the success for the season. A game they should win on the road, but could easily overlook with Auburn looming. What are your thoughts on how Cal needs to approach UNT? Great question, because Coach Spav actually answered that today at practice. They are actually looking at going to off-site practices, I believe, the week of the game, or the week before the game too. So around 2 weeks, they're going to go off-site because they want to emulate the Heat.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
So they're not overlooking.
They're not overlooking UNT. I will say that unequivocally, they are not looking over UNT. That's the best way to put it. If they're willing to go off-site to prep for this game, then you're not overlooking UNT.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor. grab some extra napkins and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Yeah, I agree. It's an important game.
Yeah.
I can understand why people would be nervous about it because of our non-success coming out of bye weeks and our habit of overlooking opponents somehow.
Yeah.
But like, we also attribute our losses much more to overlooking than it actually is. Wilcox just isn't that coach. He doesn't overlook anybody. They don't focus on games that are beyond what's right in front of them. And, first game of the season too. I think you got to remember Wilcox has a really good non-conference schedule.
Yep, he has a very good out-of-conference schedule record. All right, next one from one of our dear listeners, Cal Kangila. Biggest impact player on each side of the ball going into the season. I can answer this one. First, impact player, quarterback, whoever is the quarterback on offense. That's the big first one. And then on defense, honestly, Brett Johnson. Which, by the way, Brett Johnson was lined up with the first line defensive line yesterday and today. So
Love it.
that's all you
Love
gotta
it.
know. That's all you gotta know.
It's huge.
Yeah. All right. Rob Sharp sends us some 3 questions. Who would be your dream hire as our next athletic director? I have no idea what a pool of athletic director candidates looks like. Andy, do you have one?
No.
No.
Guys, you gotta understand. There's no Twitter anymore.
Yeah.
There's very little
Even
social
if you have
for me.
Twitter, I would have no idea how to figure out there
I
are
got a 5-month-old. I can't be worrying about what good athletic directors are out there right now for hire.
There's a couple of people that I'll ask for Rex, but no, I do not, and we do not. What's North Texas's strongest group? I actually haven't started looking at North Texas yet because we just started fall camp. We will get back to you on that as we get closer to the start of the season. Topic, #Hogs for Spav. How will our linemen look? The linemen look pretty solid, although I've only seen them for a day. Cindric was on the banner today, and he talked about how he feels like he's in the best shape of his life. They said the training regimen was very well catered to the offensive line guys, and the depth that they have at the offensive line now is pretty significant. And I think younger guys like Trent Ramsey coming in, and Vadakani, who also played a bunch of snaps last year, I think you're going to see a pretty revamped offensive line, and particularly because you have a new offensive line coach who is also the run game coordinator. So you're going to have new points of emphasis, new style, new things that they do to put their offensive line guys in positions to be effective and not just be like one-on-one. You gotta beat them. Yeah. All right.
We brought in enough talent there where I'm pretty confident that we'll be better than last year.
Yeah.
And that the change in coaching staff role will be really pivotal as well. Like having Angus not there will be big.
Yep. All right. We got another one. Marshawn Enthusiast sends us 3 questions. Question 1, are we dead? Question 2, will dying hurt? And question 3, will my Golden Bear heart still beat for our Bears in the Mountain West? Absolutely. Bears love mountains. That's what they wrote. I didn't say that. They actually wrote that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, oh, that's great.
No. They wrote that. Yeah. What do you think? Are we dead?
I feel alive.
Yeah, I don't think we're dead yet.
I mean, do I think that the way that I currently consume Cal football could change drastically? Yep. If we move that direction, does it? But I don't know. I got season tickets, man. I'm fired up.
Yep.
I'm doing the same old shit. I'm still alive. We're good.
I mean, look, regardless of what happens in 2024 and our impending doom, I am going to enjoy the shit out of this season.
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna enjoy it. And if we don't get any more good Cal like college football leading into it, at least I enjoyed this year and wasn't down in the dumpsters just because of like what our future might look like. We'll have the
And
memories.
like, to be fair, like, as an example, this might be a hot take. People might not love this, but like, let's look at the MLS or AAA baseball.
Sure.
AAA baseball, I won't hate on the MLS because I know there's a lot of soccer fans. So let's do AAA baseball.
You're talking to one right now.
There's all right, no sidetracks. Okay, AAA baseball does well in places like Nashville with a much inferior product in regards to skill level that you would get at the major league level, but it does well because they create good environments. It's competitive. It's fun. It's not as over the top. So maybe that is the world in which, if we are in the Mountain West, we look at a game against Fresno State at home and, you create this. There's no competition whatsoever in the East Bay at all. I mean, if the A's are going to Vegas, Cal is sitting pretty when it comes to being the only show in town on Saturdays, like outside of the Giants. But like East Bay wise, it's Berkeley, baby. We got it. Like, what else? They're talking about bringing a WNBA team in. I think the Bears are going to be in a good spot, even if you're bringing in a Fresno State, even if you're bringing in a San Diego State. I mean, dude, I've gone to the Cal San Diego State games. Those are fun games. They whoop us. It's like, those are fun games. The Nevada game was fun. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're going to still be able to have a good time in the Mountain West. The question is if we're in the Mountain West. And, like, honestly, I just, like, that's an option I'm totally fine with. If it's Big Ten, Mountain West. The issue with the Mountain West is the impact that it has on the finances and then the downstream impact that has on non-revenue sports and, like, what that means. And so to go back to that Twitter post that you read, that's the problem. The problem isn't, like, competitiveness or enjoying those games. By all means, I think we've had fun, enjoyable games against Mountain West, opponents.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, like, I think case in point is like SC, I believe, is changing beach volleyball into like a club sport now from a non-revenue sport. If I got my facts correct, because the Big Ten doesn't have beach volleyball. So, yeah. All right, we got some more. All right, Theo P sends us another question. When will Cal be good at football again? Like 03 to 08 good? Not a troll question. Grew up in Sac, so I'm legit curious.
This year. This is it. I was feeling great about it until I found out that Caldwell was out for the season. But yeah, this is the year.
No,
9 wins.
Look, if Caldwell was out for the season, a side tangent, I'm 99% sure they knew Caldwell was going to be out for the season early on because they wouldn't. I don't think they would have gone out and gotten Ifanse and King Doru if Caldwell was healthy. You don't bring in two grad transfers that would have started elsewhere to shore up a room. That's just my take.
Love it.
Yeah, and they look good in camp. So,
all right, so you heard it here first. This is the year. 9 wins, baby.
Yeah. Kevin sends us another question. Sadly, a dark question. If the Pac-12 dissolves with no Big Ten invite and the university says no to the Big 12 due to religiously affiliated universities, Cal is left with the Mountain West. Since Mountain West payout is so much lower than our stadium payments, what happens? Do we default on loan and lose the stadium, or do we have to cut football? I can answer the last one. You will never cut football because it pays for the stadium. So unless we default on the loan and we lose the stadium, even then, I still think the football team exists. We'll just be paying rent because the bank will now own the stadium.
How much is left to pay off?
I think we've I don't think we've even been paying like the interest.
Right.
I think we've only been paying the principal.
No, it'd be the opposite of that.
Or sorry, we've only been paying the interest. We haven't paid the principal. Sorry.
So was it like $400 million?
Yeah, ish.
I don't know, man. We lose sight of the money here, right? Like Cal is the top 15 NIL money. Like this is not a program that's starved for cash. Like they're just like I don't know if someone's gonna come in and write the check to balance that out, but like come on.
I mean, here's the thing, right? The reason, all right, this is my explanation of the situation. The reason we get shit on of being such a terrible athletic department and all of that is because of the way we dealt with our finances after we renovated the stadium. After we renovated the stadium, we were constantly in the red and we weren't making our money back because football was not good enough and just wasn't making enough money. In comes Carol Christ, who actually bridges that gap between the athletic department and the academic part of campus, helps the athletic department by getting some of that debt off and using the academic part to pay off some of it, which is why our last fiscal year or 2 fiscal years ago, our books were actually in the green, right? Because of the university and the campus side of things actually helping us out with that a little bit. So what does that mean? That means the athletic department is now not going to be running under debt. Like we'll be paying this off slowly. Like we're still under like, it's like it's a government term, right? But it's like the debt ceiling, right? Like we'll still have that. We'll be paying that off. But that doesn't mean we won't have room to use to operate anymore. Like we're not going to be as cash strapped as we have been in the past.
Yep.
But we're not going to see that effect until like 4 or 5 years down the line, right? Those things don't happen immediately unless someone comes in with $400 million and he's just like, look, pay off the debt and then just start spending your normal inflow as like sports budget. But that's not going to happen. So it's gonna start to increase better over time. So yes, we will never cut football. And if we default on the loan, we will lose the stadium, but I guarantee we still won't kill football. And then, yeah, I mean, the MWC payout is so much lower than our stadium payments. What happens? That's what's going to happen, but that just means we need more people to start going to games. Ultimately. And, you know, circle of life, right? That means we also need the team to be better because people are going to want to see a better product. So on and so forth. The diehards will still come out, but you need the 50-50 people. Hopefully that changes this year. All right, Andy, we got 2 more. We're going to get through this. All right, Callie Scotty sends us one. If Stanford and Cal get left behind after all the Pac-12 departures, why wouldn't Cal go independent as well? What's allowing Stanford to go independent? Private school funding?
Money.
Question mark.
Yeah, money.
I think money, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Stanford would go independent. I don't get why people keep thinking Stanford's going to go independent. They struggle to put people in their own stadium, right? And if you look at the chart of what's it? TV viewership, Stanford's not in the top 4 in the conference. Stanford's pretty far on the bottom. The only reason Notre Dame can go independent is because they draw millions of viewers.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. And they fill. We were just at that stadium. That stadium fills out. Right.
That made no sense. That was crazy.
So
made no sense.
So like that's why I don't think Stanford going to independent. What? So like you're telling me that some network is gonna pay what $35-40 million a year to Stanford just for Stanford games, and that's gonna make them profit? No. If we're saying that Stanford can't keep us afloat with USC and LA gone, there's no way Stanford's going to keep themselves afloat with and get like a $40 million deal. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
I think that's right. I mean, there is their financial situation is very different than ours.
Well, they don't. They also don't have to tell anyone what their financial situation is.
Yeah.
No one knows. True. It could be in the red for all we know. Like, honestly. we won't know. We won't ever know.
I don't think they are.
I don't think they are. Yeah, I don't think they are either. But, you know, you get what I think everyone gets what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
All right, the last one. Or last one's kind of just that someone commented to Callie Scotty's message. Says, I could be completely wrong, but when I was traveling through the Bay Area blogs last year after SCLA left, I was also hearing the most likely scenario is football would go independent and all other sports would go to Ivy for both schools. I think that was just, I don't think that was that's what we're doing. That was just here's what we potentially could do. But no, we would not go Ivy League. It honestly does not make sense for us. If we're saying regional doesn't make sense to like join the Big 10 or the Big 12, joining 10 other schools that are on the opposite side of the country with just us here is basically like SC and LA joining the Big 10. It like logistically does not make sense.
We could join with Stanford and just play Stanford for all sports all the time. It would just be big everything. It's like, you guys got the Big 18, we got big everything. Bring it on.
We're just big. Just the big.
All right, let me just say, I can't believe we didn't have a comment or a question from Sid.
We didn't. Kind of.
Well, hopefully that means Sid has left the site known as X behind and is not thinking about any of this stuff. Because I think when you have done that and you can just look at this for the ridiculousness that it is, and you can say, you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be, and our ability to kind of control or understand what's going to happen is sadly limited. That's a good place to be. I'm not there yet, but one day, maybe one day.
Yeah.
Until then, every single question that was about Cal football and starting the season off, I mean, that's right. That's where we should be. It's going to be super fun. Auburn coming in to the Bay. Mm-hmm. It's going to be amazing. We'll be there for that. I think we're going to do DJ set. It's going to be awesome. And then, first season ticket holder, dude. So I am so excited. I will be in section. I forgot it. Whatever. Oh, well. I'll remember one day what it is.
Well, some news trickling in as we're recording here. The Washington Regents meeting has just started about 15 minutes ago.
This is just like the freaking A's moving to Vegas, dude. Same thing. Why do all these meetings start so late?
I don't know. Why is it a 10 p.m. meeting with Regents? Anyways.
I will say Wilner tweeted out, just because I look up Pac-12 just to see what's going on. He said he put the odds at extinction
-1.
-1. Mm-hmm. And that guy knows what's going on most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. We'll see. By the time you're listening to this podcast, the Pac-12 could already be dismantled.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
It's been fun, folks.
Yeah, at that point, we'll do another, we'll do in memorandum, and we'll pour one out. But, yeah, that's it for us on the California Golden Bearcast. You know where to find us on Twitter at Golden Bearcast. You can email us, goldenbearcast@gmail.com. You got all our written stuff at writeforcalifornia.com, which is pretty cool. We have some really cool stuff in the pipeline. A lot of cool partnerships that I've been working on over the last couple weeks. You're going to see some really, really cool content. So if you're not a subscriber, please go and subscribe for all the Right for Cal and your California Golden Bears content, along with my practice notebooks, which you'll start to see soon, with fall camp going strong, starting yesterday, leading all the way until I think August 19th. And then it becomes closed practices / potentially offsite. So, yeah, I think that's it. Andy, you got anything else to add? No, you good? All right. Well, the next time you hear from us, it'll probably be Yep.
R.I.P.
You know what I as just go full circle on that clip. Do you remember what happens at the very end of that scene?
Where there's someone that's alive?
Yeah, where he goes to that house and the guy brings out his like dad and drops him off, and the dad like whispering like, "I'm feeling better." Yeah. Like, and then the guy slides the guy at the guy who's pulling all the dead bodies like a 20. He slaps him on the head with a pot, and then he just pushes the cart along. That's kind of where we're at. We're feeling better. All right. That's it for us. And of course, as always, go Bears.
Go Bears!